My wife and I have begun to really enjoy the benefits of satellite and internet radio. But there's one advantage that traditional radio has over these services. Traditional radio is edited. My wife and I will be in the car with our 3 children, and doing a mental scan of the lyrics, I will realize that a word is coming, and I quickly go to turn down the volume or switch the channel. Just yesterday, we were listening to the radio with the kids in the car, and doing a mental scan of the lyrics, I realized the F word was coming. So I switched stations to do another mental scan and to realize the S word was coming. And so I switched the channel and realized that another S word was coming. And so I just switched it to the Beatles channel, where I could be reasonably confident that John Lennon's Working Class Hero wasn't going to be played anytime soon. I take some comfort from Jesus' teaching this morning. It's not what goes in your ears or your mouth that defiles, but what comes out that profanes. I can protect my children's innocence for a little while longer if they happen to hear, an errant word here or there on the radio. That's not going to destroy their innocence. But this idea that it's what goes in, not what goes in that defiles, but what comes out that defiles, was a challenge to the religious practices of the day. From the perspective of the people that held these beliefs, they were fulfilling the ethos of Deuteronomy that we heard this morning, to keep God's commands and teach them to others. What they were really doing is adhering to the human traditions that had grown up around the Torah, this business of cups and kettles and more, and the discrimination that came when others didn't perform these acts of purity. Jesus mocks these supposed traditionalists for attempting to maintain their innocence without naming or confronting evil. Naming evil. Jesus is not afraid to name evil here. Fornication, theft, murder, adultery, avarice, wickedness, deceit, licentiousness, envy, slander, pride, folly. Notice that there are 12. The 12 tribes of Israel bore the names of the sons of Jacob, and now they bear these 12 sins. Modern evils are perhaps more subtle. The isms of our day: imperialism, elitism, sexism, racism, fascism. But these things are natural, unfortunate outgrowths of the evil Jesus names. And we must name them, confront them if possible, but always name them. In the Harry Potter book series, the evil Voldemort is introduced as he who must not be named. Hermione Granger challenges this and says fear of a name only increases fear of the thing itself. And you can distinguish the heroes from the villains in Harry Potter by those who are willing to name Voldemort. And you can distinguish the heroes and villains of our own day by who can name evil where it is seen, who can recognize it for what it is, and who is willing to speak up. Evil must be named. Evil and purity and moral ethics aren't a matter of the right kettles and the right cups at the right time. It's a matter of being able to recognize true sin and confront it. See, with diagnosis, treatment can begin. And we are encouraged to be doers of the word and not merely hearers in the letter of James today. We sometimes excuse evil by saying that everyone thought that way once upon a time. But from the first, there is usually someone who sees evil for what it is and is willing to confront it. The Dominican monk Bartolomé de las Casas, born around the cusp of the 16th century, was speaking out against the injustices being done to the indigenous peoples in the Americas from the very first. He was writing home to his superiors about what the conquistadors and others were doing to the indigenous populations, and spoke out against slavery. We tend to excuse historical evils by saying that everyone believed that. Well, actually, the enslaved might have had something to say about it. Don't they make up everyone? Somewhere along the way, there's always a contrarian. And on a Labor Day, we should remember all of those who striked and more to give us some of the freedoms that we enjoy in the economic sphere today. There's usually always at least one person willing to speak out. And by joining them, we break the monopoly that supposed tradition has on the human heart. We can not only name, but confront the evils around us. If we're willing to look for the voices among the poor and the lost, and with them gather the strength to confront evil. Jesus challenges those of his day and ours who are tempted to think that purity is a matter of lowering the volume or switching channels. This is to ignore evil. Evil must be instead named and confronted in our time. Jesus mocks those who think that they can maintain their innocence by ignoring evil, and instead encourages us disciples, we doers of the word and not merely hearers, to conquer the evil where we see it.